Good morning, good afternoon.
Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Saeed. Thank you for joining.
Good morning to all of you. Good morning, Kalthum. Thank you.
Good morning to you.
I'm sorry that I have an issue with my camera, so I couldn't switch it on. So I'm sorry about that.
So, it's okay,
It's
Mr.
fine.
Saeed. We know you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's wait for a minute more just to allow people to join.
Yeah, Slajana, I just want to ask participants if you have access to your cameras.
Yes.
Rehab?
I see just my shared screen, so I don't
right.
see any all participants. So, oh yes, I see now. Do you see
That's
Kalthum?
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see Rehab already. Thank you very much, Rehab.
Thank you. Thank you, Kulthum.
Has Yali joined?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, good day.
Yeah, my name is Abdul Kani Barrow. I'm from Somalia.
You are very much welcome. Thank you for participation.
Thank you.
Welcome, Abdulali.
Thank you.
Sheila, do you see has Ketsive has joined? And Yali?
Yeah. Kitsu is here.
Okay, excellent. So
good morning, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome. Okay, so I believe that we can start. Kelton? Colleagues?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. I believe that also some other country representatives, participants will join us during the introduction part. So I would like to say good morning to all of you, or good afternoon to everyone joining us today on behalf of the CBIT-GSP and on behalf of our partners. I'm warmly welcome you to the first session of our webinar series, Post-COP30 Transparency Outlook from Negotiations to Practice. We are very glad to have you today and to see participants from across Eurasia, Mid-East and North Africa and Anglophone Africa Transparency Network, CBIT-GSP Transparency Networks, since your participation actually demonstrates our common dedication to building strong transparency systems as central to the Paris Agreement, ensuring with that climate action can be measured, reported, and verified. We are honored to be joined by our dear colleagues. Dear colleagues and speakers, including Ms. Ketsive Kumalo from CBIT-GSP, UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center, and Ms. Yali Wang from UNFCCC Secretariat, and also, of course, negotiators from different regions and the country representatives, transparency practitioners who will share their experiences and perspectives. Today's panel sessions planned for the second part of this event will be moderated by my colleagues, Keltum. She is a regional coordinator of MENA Network, Transparency Network, and Sheila, who is coordinating Anglophone Africa Transparency Network. My name is Slađana Bundalo, and I'm Eurasia Network Coordinator, and I will be guiding you through the entire event. Also, just to note, and actually I would like to say that we encourage you to actively engage throughout the session. So in that context, you can use chat box for your comments and questions, and of course, join interactive Mentimeter survey that we prepared for the end of the event. Also, you can raise your hands, etc. So your inputs for sure will help shape our collective understanding and feed into future discussions under Paris Agreement's Article 13. In short, our focus today is on transparency roadmaps as a bridge between negotiations and negotiation practice. And together we will explore what a meaningful roadmap should include, who should lead it at national level, and how roadmaps can support coordination and alignment with support mechanisms. With that, let us begin with our first speaker. I'm pleased to invite our colleague and our team leader from CBIT-GSP, Ms. Katsive Kumalo from UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center, to welcome you and to briefly introduce the context of today's event. Katsive, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Slađana, and a good morning to all of us colleagues, and a good afternoon to those that have crossed over to the afternoon. It is really a pleasure to actually be here and participate in this conversation series that I think is going to be a very meaningful conversation out towards how do we build sustainable transparency systems at a national level. And I'm happy to see all the colleagues that are here representing the three transparency networks that we have under the CBIT-GSP, the MENA, Eurasia, and Anglophone Africa transparency networks. And I'm very happy also to the negotiators, the technical experts, and our partners that have joined us here today. So I hope that we are going to have not just another webinar today. What we are looking for and hoping that we are going to have is just a meaningful and practical conversation about where we are. I think we need to be realistic in terms of where we are, in terms of implementing the ETF, and also where we want to be. I think this is the most fundamental, question that we also need to interrogate. And as we know that the negotiations inform practice in a way that we get all the guidance, the procedures, the expectations in terms of how countries can collectively report on their climate actions through the negotiations. So we thought that it will be useful to actually have a constructive conversation and have a moment with both practitioners and negotiators to discuss some of the fundamental issues or challenges that we have while we are implementing the ETF. And many of you in this meeting today have recently completed your first biennial transparency report. and you are already working on your second BTRs, and you have navigated new guidelines, tight timelines, limited resources, and complex coordination processes that needed to happen at national level. And through this, you have gained a lot of experiences. You have learned, often the hard way, what it takes to implement the ETF. So now this event is basically about us as a collective to start to think about how do we move from learning how to report to learning how we build sustainable reporting systems at national level. Producing these individual reports, it's one thing I think countries have known and have been doing for the past years, but what is important now and what is a challenge that we have seen is how do we build permanent national transparency systems that are owned by governments, trusted by stakeholders, and are used to inform real policy and investment decisions. And this is the key fundamental objective of Article 13, that the reports that we are producing are able to inform real policy, inform ambition in that NDC, and also attract or mobilize resources for climate finance, ensuring that those policies and mitigation and adaptation actions that we have put forward gets implemented on the ground. So we hope that these deliberations that we are going to have here today are going to try to bring us closer to these bigger objectives. And we know that there's a lot of conversations that have happened also within the negotiations around how we can bring about sustainable support for implementing Article 13. And this is very important, especially for developing countries, taking into consideration that there is quite a lot developing countries that are already competing, dealing with at national level. So how do we mobilize the needed technical support, the needed financial support, but also a conversation that needs to happen is how to make countries ready to receive this support that we are requesting. And so there's been a lot of discussion in the negotiations, how this can happen. We are going to hear today some of the outcomes and recaps of COP30 in trying to deal with some of these issues. And we hope that whatever is being discussed and being shared is going to reflect what options we have at national level for us to be able to ensure that we are working towards enhancing and building sustainable transparency systems. So we will have this conversation, I think, over a series, and you will see how we have phrased. The idea is just for us as colleagues to find a way forward in terms of what are the small building blocks that we can actually think about to ensure that we build sustainable transparency systems. And this comes with a lot of responsibilities, both from support provider perspective, but also at a national level in terms of how governments take over the work of transparency, how we build transformational institutional arrangements that will make the reporting easy, but also beyond reporting, how we ensure that we are able to inform policy going forward. So the discussion, colleagues, will be around these key elements, as I've mentioned, and we are really looking forward to kind of really understand. I think one of the ideas in terms of some of the tools that can help countries at national level bridge the gaps or the challenges that they have has been some proposal of transparency roadmaps. But it's important for us to understand what are these transparency roadmaps, how these roadmaps can be useful for the countries, but also how do countries want support providers use these roadmaps? How do we see these roadmaps in the bigger picture, in the bigger context of country reporting? So I hope these are the questions that we are trying to find answers to as a collective today, and I hope that this will make the conversation more practical and also connect us to our daily work on transparency so that we are able to propose some insights that are going to be beneficial for the national context. So this is what I can say as Lajara at the moment, and really encourage that colleagues share openly what you think based on, of course, national circumstances, and highlight also what could be challenges. And let's learn collectively. Let's inform the process as a collective in terms of how we want to see it. And I really encourage everyone to be open in this dialogue and commit in a way how we share our ideas and opinion and how we want to learn together. So thank you very much, and really looking forward to engaging discussions. Lajana, over.
Thank you, Ketsiwe, for these insightful words. So yes, we are here to explore where are we in the context of the ETF implementation, and actually where we want to be. So we would like to raise here to have a practical discussions on the issues, challenges countries face when implementing ETF. So you already mentioned some challenges, but also the good thing as that countries also through submission to preparation and submission of their first BTRs gain some experiences. So now I also believe it's the right moment for countries and together with negotiators also to collectively discuss how to improve our ETF systems and processes. So let's think as colleagues, let's discuss, let's share how we can build, improve our transparency systems. So before I invite our first speaker, Mrs. Yali Wang, sorry, I would like to kindly ask you all participants to turn on your cameras so we can make a joint photo together. So please turn on your cameras. Okay, some more. Thank you, thank you. Nice to see you all in this environment now. When I see your faces, it's more easy for me to understand that I don't speak with my computer, but with you from the other side of the world. So I'm very happy to see you. Okay, I will make a first photo.
And the longest was that once time is done, has been done, which we look at when we review these documents, is the measures that are going to be put in place for the commission. And then when we bring back, I'm going to have the regeneration of those 8 species. So you're not down to consent to make those mountains. Because also these rocks, they will then be removed.
Thank you very much. So with that, let's begin. I'm pleased to invite our first speaker, Mrs. Yali Wang from UNFCCC Secretariat, to inform us on COP30 outcomes and forward work under Article 13. So, Yali, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Snejana, for inviting me, and very happy to see colleagues and see here. Could you please make me a presenter so I can share my screen? So while we are figuring out the technical issues. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I am Yani Wang from UNFCCC Secretariat. I'm very pleased to be here today. I will be sharing some. Okay, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So, thank you. So I'm very pleased here to share some transparency outcomes from Berlin. The transparency outcome from Berlin centered around agenda items on the provisions of financial and technical support for MRV and ETF, and the report, term composition, and terms of reference of the CGE. Parties also provided guidance to GEF and others, such as the adoption of the Berlin adaptation indicators. For the MRV support, the SBI acknowledged the importance of the financial and technical support available through bilateral, multilateral, and other channels, in particular that provided by the GEF, including through CBIT and CBIT-GSP. The SBI underscored the importance of adequate and timely support to non-Annex 1 parties to meet MRV requirements and to build and enhance their institutional and technical capacity on a continuous basis. The SBI also requested the Secretariat, in collaboration with other UN entities and international organizations, to provide further technical support. For ETF support and guidance to GEF and others, I will share more information in the following slides. For the CGE, parties acknowledged its achievements, recognized its important role, and noted with concern the financial challenges the board encountered. Parties also provided guidance for its 2026 work plan. At COP and CMA, parties decided to make a CG a permanent body, amended the composition of the group, and adopted revised terms of reference and emphasized that CGE will continue to serve the Convention and the Paris Agreement. Regarding the CMA decision on the provision of financial and technical support for ETF, parties appreciate the 119 parties that have submitted BTR ones and encourage the remaining ones to submit. The CMA welcomes information provided by the GEF on financial support requested, approved, and provided for BTR preparation. It acknowledges the mandate activities conducted in 2024 and 2025, including a set of regional and in-person workshops, facilitative dialogues, submission of views by parties, summary reports, census reports, and a word cafe workshop. Those activities have allowed parties to share experience in accessing financial and technical support, implementing the ETF, and enhance developing country parties a capacity to report. It also acknowledged the ongoing challenges faced by developing country parties in implementing the ETF, those related to institutional capacity, technical expertise, data systems and workflows, and resource availability. The decision also reaffirms the importance of the adequacy, predictability, and timeliness of the support provided to developing country parties, recognizing the special circumstances of least developed countries and small island developing states for building and enhancing their institutional and technical capacity for implementing the ETF on a continuous basis and in a sustainable manner. The CMA agrees on an initial list of activities to identify and respond to challenges in reporting by developing countries, identify possible solutions to those challenges, and also to ensure effectiveness. Some of the challenges developing country parties encountered, including the preparation of BTRs, establishment of institutional arrangements, projection of greenhouse gas, data management tools and project management tools for BTR preparation, stakeholder engagement, tracking support needed and received, navigating the MPGs, including the flexibility provisions, managing human resources, etc. And those activities started with a survey to gather information from parties about the benefits and outcome of the lessons learned from the implementation of the mandate activities in 2024 and 2025. A report on the survey will be considered at SBI-64 this year in June, with a view to informing the activities showcased in the middle of this slide, which will be implemented on an annual basis between 2026 and 2028. Those annual activities include inviting parties to submit views on experience and challenges in implementing the ETF, preparing synthesis reports on the party submissions and BTRs of developing country parties, a World Cafe workshop at the June session for parties to reflect on the synthesis report and engage with GEF and its implementing agencies, a summary report on the June session World Cafe workshop, organizing regional workshops on experience, best practice, lessons learned, and challenges related to implementing the ETF, preparing summary reports on the regional workshops, and also in the end of the year, organizing World Cafe workshop at the November session to consider outcomes of the activities organized in this year and also inform the next annual cycle of activities. The 2026 and 2027 November sessions will consider the submissions and reports with a view to provide guidance to the Secretariat on ways of maximizing the reach and effectiveness of the activities of subsequent annual cycle. And in 2028, the June session will consider the outcomes of the activities and recommend a draft decision, including future activities, for consideration and adoption by CMA 10 in 2028. Regarding guidance to GEF, the parties encouraged the GEF and its implementing agencies to continue providing financial support for the preparation of BTRs and NCs by developing country parties. Parties requested the GEF to maintain the support for reporting and capacity building, including on the CBIT. Parties also requested the GEF to strengthen its efforts in providing support to developing country parties for them to build their capacity and enhance their institutional arrangement, as well as for training in relation to effectively implementing the ETF. For adaptation-related reporting, the adaptation indicators were adopted, and the parties request the adaptation committee, the consultative group of experts, and these developed countries expert group to provide technical guidance and support to parties for implementing the UAE framework for global climate resilience and report thereon. And this is an overall picture of the transparency-related outcome from COP30, and I hope this information is useful, and we would be very happy to provide any further information if needed. Thank you. I give the floor back to Sneja. Thank you.
Yeah, Lee, thank you very much. I would like to kindly ask a participant who speaks right now to mute the microphone since we hear discussion behind. So thank you, Yali, again for providing some outcomes concerning the transparency in frame of the CME decisions about the provisions of the financial and technical support to the ETF. So yes, so far 119 countries submitted their BTRs, but also the Secretariat and the CME recognizes common challenges when it comes to the BTR preparation, submission, and ETF implementation. Also, thank you for notifying planned activities in that context of the SBI meetings that further plan to support the process, especially guidance
think
to
they
the
say,
GEF to continue providing support for preparation of the BTRs. Sorry, can you mute your microphone, please? Especially also you mentioned the guidance to the GEF to continue providing support for preparation of the BTRs and the national communications, and also support in capacity building. So thank you very much. I hope that you listen carefully, and if there are some questions from the audience, from the participants, please take this opportunity, and you can ask Yali now. Also, if you have some questions, you can post them in. You can put them in the chat box, or raise the questions during the next sessions. So we are all here to respond to your requests and to explain the processes and the support behind the ETF. So in the next part of our event, we will have two panel discussions. And the first one is dedicated to the transparency roadmaps as a bridge between negotiators and the national practice. And the second one is a conversation from countries, experiences from countries about the development of the transparency roadmaps. The first panel session will be moderated by my colleague Sheila. So Sheila, please, the floor is yours. Introduce us with your panelists and pose the questions and raise discussion. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Silajana, for that. And I would like to take this opportunity to appreciate the previous speakers who have already set the stage, but also introduce my panelists. I have Dr. Saidi Sami, I have Dr. Andrew Makad, and also Mr. Kaka Madivani. And they will be introducing themselves in details because they hold so many positions, especially in negotiations. And I would like to also build on from that as I build this conversation, that the stage has been set, and this conversation comes at a time when several parties really need clear national plans for reporting and capacity building, and therefore having a conversation of transparency roadmaps as a bridge between negotiation and national practice comes at a very critical time when both parties, the practitioners and also the negotiators, need to really clearly unpack this kind of concept of transparency roadmaps, considering that several challenges have been talked about in terms of the institutional challenges, institutional capacity, the technical expertise, but most importantly, the data systems that are very important when it comes to meeting the BTR reporting cycles, and which is very critical for timeliness and also sustaining the reporting over time. So I would like to take this opportunity right now to invite Dr. Saidi. He will first introduce himself, but the biggest question that I'm staging to him to build this conversation is we also don't know about what it would look like in terms of what would entail the transparency roadmap. So what is it and how would it look like, and how would we frame it even better? So over to you, Mr. Dr. Saidi, to take us through that. Thank you.
Hello, thank you, Ms. Sheila. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you for the invitation. Thanks for all the previous speakers. Kulthum, thank you for the invitation. My name is Saeed Al-Sarmi, and I'm working at Oman Net Zero Center. This is a new established center under the Ministry of Energy and Minerals. The focus of the Net Zero Center is to update the national net zero plan that Oman has committed to achieve by 2050. And also the center is working on establishing the carbon market framework and also a national strategy for the energy efficiency. The Net Zero Center, Oman Net Zero Center, also has established an MRV system. It's called Mizan, and it is mandated to do all the inventory requirements for the UNFCCC reporting. My role in the center is focusing on the mitigation aspects and of the BTR, of the transparency reports, and also on the carbon market section. So that's in brief my role in the center. Would you like me, Sheila, to give more information on the first questions regarding the transparency roadmap, or shall I wait for next?
No, kindly go ahead so that we can hear from you what you think about the transparency roadmap. What is it, and how should it look like? What should be the key elements within the roadmap? I would like to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you so much. So I think a transparency roadmap is a national planning and governance instrument that translate Article 13 of Paris Agreement from negotiated requirements into operational national practice. COP30 was an important moment because it came after the first cycle of the biennial transparency reports. I think countries are no longer asking, what does the ETF require? They are asking, how do we sustain transparency systems over time? This shift is very clearly reflected in the webinar background note and in the COP30 discussion themselves. So in practical terms, a transparency roadmap is the answer to one key question. How does a country move from producing a report every 2 years to running a permanent transparency system? From that perspective, a credible transparency roadmap, I think it has 6 critical elements. First, it should be first aligned with Article 13. This means it does not just cover greenhouse gas inventories, but should cover other elements of the BTR, like the NDC tracking, projections, information on support needed and received. Second, it must provide institutional clarity. I think COP30 discussions highlighted that ad hoc consultant-driven arrangements are not sustainable. A roadmap must clearly identify who leads transparency, who provides the data, and how coordination works across ministries and agencies. Third, a roadmap must focus on systems, not documents. Transparency under the ETF is not a reporting product. It is a system function. That means stable data flows, quality assurance and quality control, archiving, version control, and preservation of institutional memory. Fourth, it must include a methodological improvement pathways. I think credible roadmap does not freeze current capacities. It plans for gradual improvement in IPCC tiers, time series consistency, and projections as national capacity grows. Fifth, financing and capacity must be treated as a program, not as a project. COP30 strongly reinforced the need for predictable multi-cycle support, as we just heard from Ms. Yali from the UNFCCC Secretariat. A roadmap should therefore cover multiple BTR cycles, identify long-term staffing needs, and align with CBIT, GEF, and other supporting windows. Finally, a roadmap must include a built-in learning loop. Lessons from the technical expert review and facilitative multilateral consideration of progress should feed directly into roadmap updates. Transparency improve through iteration, not just repetition. So in summary, Chair and the rest of the participant, I think transparency roadmap is the bridge between negotiation and national practice. It ensures that the Article 13 is implemented not as a one-off reporting obligation, but as the durable national system. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for the insight and for elaborating on the 6 key items that clearly define what you understood as key elements that should entail a transparency roadmap, but also you clearly highlighted before the key elements that it should be something that can help countries move to building sustainable enhanced transparency systems, which is a very key point to note on what it should look like. And also it should look like something that can easily be a tool for planning at national level, but also it should support operational and national practice and sustaining the different elements within enhanced transparency systems. But just to emphasize the 6 points, that it should be clearly aligned with Article 13, and it should provide provide functionality of institutional arrangements, and also the key roles should be well aligned in terms of who takes lead and who provides the data and all the other elements of the institutional arrangements. That it should actually look like a system, not a document. It should emphasize that in terms of a system that allows the flow of the different elements and functionalities in terms of the data flow and MRV. And then the 4th element was about methodology that provides the improvement pathways. And 5th point was about the financial capacity should be treated as a program, not just as a one-time kind of project. And then lastly, you emphasized building in looping learning elements that provide sustainability and not provides improvement over time, not just for the sake of reporting. I think for us, from this conversation, it is giving us a clear direction on how transparency roadmaps should look like. And I will not give this follow-up question to you. Now I'll invite Dr. Andrew to elaborate more on what you have just shared about transparency, how it should look like. So in the context, in this context, I will invite also Dr. Andrew to briefly introduce himself, but also to elaborate to us who should lead then the transparency roadmaps from the context of national level, but also at reporting level. Who do you think should take the lead on this? And maybe you can also touch on the element of how should they support evolving from one reporting cycle to another. So the floor is yours, Dr. Andrew.
Hi, thanks very much, Sheila, and thank you to GSP CBIT for organizing these webinars. I think they're very useful. I have two roles which are relevant to this discussion. The first one is that I'm the lead coordinator for the African Group for Transparency Negotiations under the UNFCCC and the Paris Agreement. And the second one is that my day job is as a university researcher, and we do a lot of detailed quantitative modeling work for national policy. And those two things overlap quite nicely. I'm not going to rehash the excellent presentation that was given by Yali Wang from the Secretariat, which is a really good overview of what we got out of COP30. And also, I think the points that Dr. Al-Sami has just made are also really an excellent basis on which to build this discussion. From a negotiations point of view, there are two levels or two dimensions that we deal with. The first one is the actual rulebook, which defines what the reporting requirements are, etc. And then the other very important dimension is the provision of support to developing countries to develop the capacity to do that. I'm going to talk a little bit about about
Andrew,
both of them.
I would like to request that you could open your camera if you do not mind.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll see how the bandwidth goes. So the reporting rules were finalized at COP26 when we finalized all the reporting tables, etc., etc. And there are a couple of tweaks since then. They will be reviewed in 2027 and 2028. And the rationale for those dates was that we would have completed 2 cycles of biennial transparency reports by then, so we'd have something to reflect on. That is important. It's not urgent, but it is important to keep that in mind. The support track, which was the focus of negotiations at COP30, what we have tried to do in that track is to develop a process for linking national challenges to the way in which we structure and direct support at the international level. And we have succeeded at COP30 in getting, and the Secretariat put a really good diagram of this on in the presentation, of getting a programmatic approach to this. And that approach is really around gathering evidence from the national level to see what the challenges really are in detail that countries are now experiencing now that they're actually reporting under Paris, and then configuring the type of support and directing the kinds of support that are required. And this includes not only financial support for both for reporting and for capacity building, but also technical support, very importantly from the Secretariat, that provides a whole range of different types of technical support. The CGE, which we established as a permanent body at COP30, which is a great outcome. And then also there are many other avenues through which support is provided. And I think what was also unique about the COP30 process is that I think we found a format for the kinds of engagement that we've been having with between parties and the GEF and its implementing agencies that was really great. And there was a lot of really good discussion and a lot of a much more nuanced understanding coming out of that. The long-term issues are very much along the lines that were outlined by the previous speaker, and that is that our goal is the establishment of national systems that are institutionally rooted in government. What seems to be the best model for this, and it varies from country to country, is either a national department or an agency, depending on how one's, and there are different implementations of this depending on what your national system looks like and how it works. But an agency that can coordinate the very complex set of interconnections across government. And some countries have put those in environment ministries, some countries have put them in specialized agencies. And there are issues with both of those approaches. But the key issue here is the building of these institutional means for coordination. And there's a shallow and a deep version of this. The shallow version is just ensuring that the functionality of that coordination, and the deep one is building systems that don't exist yet. And that is an ongoing challenge. Some of the problems we've been trying to deal with at the negotiations level are that the way support is provided by the GEF and its implementing agencies, in many instances, it pushes countries towards using consultant teams that are and away from long-term institutionalization. And the GEF is very well aware of this, and we've had many very useful discussions with them about this. And there are ways around this. Some countries don't have this problem. It depends on a range of legal and other issues. And that goal, I think, is probably the central outcome that we want, and what we really want to think about when we're updating the guidance. There are a number of creative solutions, and the more information that we get on challenges and successes and challenges of institutional arrangements, the better it is we can direct the kind of outcomes that will mobilize those types of resources. What we've also done in that cycle is that we are aiming to build an evidence base, and that base, a lot of it is already there. The CGE conducts an annual survey on challenges experienced by parties. Parties report their own challenges in their BTRs, and those are contained in the synthesis report. And we have regular submissions now, which can basically come to grips with different types of problems that we should be focusing on. And the Secretariat then very kindly synthesizes all those submissions. So there is a flow of information. But I think there are still some very big gaps, and maybe the GSP can play some roles in this. I think we still lack detailed information about challenges on the ground. And every time we get to a certain point, we arrange the flow of resources, etc. And then there are other detailed problems which arise, and so on and so forth. And keeping abreast of that and developing sophisticated responses, I think, is key to moving this forward. And the negotiations process and the space that we have now around the support discussion is the venue we can use to achieve that very usefully. The next workshop on this will be in June. Parties have been asked to make submissions on challenges in their experience of compiling and submitting reports, and also on for those countries that haven't yet got to that point, what the challenges are that they still need to overcome. Finally, I think the two key resourcing problems that were highlighted at COP30, which we haven't really resolved, are the resourcing of the mandates we've given to the Secretariat for providing technical support, and that relates to the Secretariat's budget. It's not a lot of money compared to the amount of money that goes into the whole transparency system, but it has a huge impact. And then similarly, the support, the financial support for the CGE, which provides technical support too. And those are the two key areas that we haven't yet addressed. Yeah, that's all. Thanks very much. I'll come back.
Yeah, thank you so much for the insights, because you have really gone beyond the question, and you have given us a broader insight on who should actually be responsible in certain elements. You spoke about the capacity support, you spoke about the financial support, but also you highlighted on whom you think should lead, and that you were mentioning the Secretariat. And then you also emphasized that if the CGE is well facilitated, can also provide some technical support, but you also touched something on how CBIT-GSP can also provide some technical support on this, on the roadmap. And I think the other things we talked about were very key to highlight, and also understand that we have not clearly established the key challenges on ground, and we are addressing challenges in an ad hoc manner, depending on what the need is. And I think that should be a very big point to note for both of us as practitioners and negotiators, so that if we have a good synthesis of challenges on ground, it will help us maybe build transparency systems. So maybe my next follow-up question to the next speaker would be, do you think these transparency roadmaps could help to build coordination and alignment at national level? And also, do you think they are actually really very important, or there will be extra burden of documents that like countries have been supporting? What is your view? Welcome, Mr. Kaka, and kindly briefly introduce yourself as you give us more insight on that. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Sheila, a lot. Good day, everybody. My name is Kaha Diwani from Georgia. I work for the Regional Environmental Center for the Caucasus, and I'd be happy to be with you. Tremendous introduction was already made, and the colleagues, Dr. Said and Andrew, has already well spoken. The key achievements, what we have already under the transparency with regards to the roadmap, if there is any threats related to the overburden the process that we have, that should be eliminated, of course. Shayla, as you asked me, I think that there is a really nice opportunity for all of us to move forward. Currently, what we observe from the process, we see that many movements, that many parties has already started to preparation for the ETF review that we are going to do in 2028. Some of the discussions has already opened in this regard. So we see that we are all observing the process, how the Article 13 is working under the Enhanced Transparency Framework. What I'd like to, what I see, there's a great opportunity, and I'm really happy that in Belém we managed to have this agreement as to create the area where we can really discuss on the matters that is common interest for all of us. And the World Cafe cases that was presented UNFCCC Secretariat today, the sessions that we have had and we agreed in Belém, that's a great achievement in terms of we would be able to discuss our experience. And the experience is really major, because we're talking about so many submitted BTRs. And beyond this, we see the tremendous work for each member states. So currently, what is really working, that first time we see the explanation of our own NDCs in a BTRs. So this is one of the greatest milestone that we achieved, that most of the parties have worked in ground, how the NDCs, what they have developed is working. And also we have observed how all of these are interlinked with the inventory system that we all have in our countries. So to keep this momentum working, I think the most important is to address the challenges. One of the biggest challenge, and what we see that we all are working on this reporting preparation process, this every 2-year submission is really requires lots of attention and lots of time dedication to work on the reporting, because the preparation of the report is not enough, because our cycle is not end there. Then we have the reviews, and after reviews there is an FMCP. So all of this process have to be go through. So and concentrating on the preparation of the report sometimes give us to really engage on day-to-day work. But the most important is to see how our transparency systems is really reflecting the goal, what we all have under the Paris Agreement, to bring some elements there to achieve this goal. So do we see under the BTR and under the, for instance, the PAM sections, really transformational projects that drive us to the goal that we all agreed. So this is the most important thing that we all have under this process. And I think these discussions, it would be at the World Cafe style or the other platforms such as the CBIT-GSP, to have this dialogue ongoing and share our challenges and hear our colleagues what is the best solution afterwards. So that would be awesome, because we're so much a resource requirement process. Each word, each experience from the colleagues is really supportive. I can give you one simple example. Georgia has just recently did its review process of the BTR. And beyond the official process, the discussions which we had with the great team of the review experts, that was the brilliant, that was the sort of huge of the amount of experience was shared with them. So how to improve the process. And you know that we all have obliged to do the improvement planning within the report. So this is the time for all of us to grab and collect all of the best experiences, how the colleagues have overcome the problems there. I think this roadmap, what we are trying to build based on these decisions, have a great starting point in terms of there is really nice decisions that we have. We just need to puzzle it. As soon as we will have all components there and just support ourselves to share the consequences that we have, and we hear from the colleagues what is the possibilities to overcome these problems. That would be the great achievement. All of this process that we call the cycles of the enhanced transparency framework. Thank you so much, Sheila. That would be my intervention for this time.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think it is well elaborated, and from the context of, like, there has been a lot of thought to it, and you have provided a very substantial information about one of the consistent challenges that somehow no one wants to talk about, which is about the time for preparation of a report, considering the available cycle between all the processes of the technical expert review process, responding to the comments. I think it is very brilliant when it comes to have we identified the challenge, and then how does this challenge be addressed to be able to fit within the cycle, and also if we have to come up with a transparency roadmap, how does then this bridge the gap that we are talking about? I think that is a very good one, and you have also provided insight that it should still be a conversation where we can be able to point out the possibilities, but also to avoid resource requirement processes that might also need more work behind scenes. So I think that is a very good way of looking at this in terms of understanding the transparency roadmap, and also appreciating the key elements, but also appreciating who should the stakeholders be, how should it be look like. But before I conclude this panel, I would like to go in the chat. There were some of the contributions from the panelists, so I will just briefly maybe read. One of them was saying that the roadmap elements should be identified and articulated by parties in consistent way, of ETF MPG's requirements and according to their national capacity in terms of country priorities of the elements with the provision of support which the roadmap is affected by. I think that is a very good contribution. We shall compile all these contributions, and since we have series of conversations, we shall continue to hold such conversations until we can come up with a reasonable and key possibilities that help to address the biggest challenges that affect all of us as practitioners, but also help negotiators to present better and practical elements that can be easily implemented at national level. But we also have our panelists elaborating more on what he was talking about, which is in the chat. I think this one I will leave to the participants to go to the chat and read it. And from my side, I would like now to hand over to Selajana for the next panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheila. Thank you. Thanks to all our panelists. It was very interesting to hear your ideas, your experiences, and also one idea for outlining or continuing our dialogue through global platform is something that actually also we want to support with through the CBIT-GSP. So let's continue with our next panel, which is about the conversation from countries on the development of the transparency roadmaps. We have here two panelists, and my colleague Keltum will moderate this panel session. Keltum, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lajana. First, I would like just to read some comments. So Andrew added that it's important to note that the roadmap is not a legal concept under Article 13, but it's a very useful concept for developing and resourcing national transparency systems. The MPGs and other decisions can support this approach in a number of ways, and both reporting on needs and tailoring multilateral supports can further the formulation and the implementation of roadmaps. It's important to continue to bring experiences, successes, and challenges to the space we have created in the multilateral process. There is always room for developing deeper understanding of challenges and solutions which can feed into the negotiations process. We have also Kitsiwi, she's saying, I agree with you on room for developing deeper understanding of challenges and solutions which can feed into the negotiations process. The CBIT-GSP is ready to learn how we can support this. Let's discuss. Okay, thank you very much. So I don't know if we have any comments from the participants on the first panel, or would like to speak, would like to ask our panelists some questions, so we could open the floor for a while. Or otherwise, we can move to the second panel and then come back to the discussions. Okay, so thank you very much, colleagues, for joining. And this is the second panel. It's on country perspective on the development of transparency roadmaps. And I just would like to emphasize that we are not here to define or standardize what a transparency roadmap is or should be. Instead, this is a kind of discussion, listening exercise, reflections on how countries could adjust their transparency systems as a domestic effort. So we want to hear how countries understand this idea, whether it is useful in their national context, and how it could or could not support sustainable transparency system under the enhanced transparency framework. So in this panel, let me welcome two speakers from different networks. We have with us Ms. Sarah Bendail. She's climate change specialist with the designated National Authority for the Clean Development Mechanism in Saudi Arabia. She's also one of the country negotiators, and also she's also one of the Arab group of negotiators and also CG member. We have also with us Mr. Yamikani Idris from Malawi. He's the principal environmental officer with the Environmental Affairs Department from Malawi. He's also the climate change negotiator for Malawi and LDC countries. He's also transparency coordinator for LDC group and a technical expert reviewer. Just to guide, like, first of all, this panel, we have two main questions. The first one may be to Sarah, so we'll start with ladies first. From your country's perspective, how could a transparency roadmap or a system or a strategy or as a domestic effort help strengthen transparency support and also contribute to building long-term sustainable transparency system? In details, we can talk about, from your country perspective, how do you understand even, or first of all, the idea of a transparency roadmap? And do you see it as something that could be useful for your national transparency system? Useful for what exactly? Is it for coordination, planning, prioritization, or something else? And how do you see a roadmap supporting sustainability over time? For example, strengthening institutional arrangements or enhancing resource mobilization for transparency? And could it even help move from one reporting cycle to the next more smoothly and sustainably? And could it also help structure transparency support in a more kind of organized and programmatic way rather than an ad hoc activities? Thank you very much. Over to you, Sarah.
Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, everyone. Thank you, Kulthum. And also I'd like to thank the previous panelists. Very, very interesting and informative conversations we're having here. And thank you for the opportunity, of course, to share some reflections from our perspective. I think this conversation about transparency roadmaps is really timely, especially as many of us in the MENA region are navigating our BTR cycles. I think the questions we're discussing today are really central to whether transparency becomes a valuable tool for countries or just another reporting burden. So to answer your question, Kulthum, one thing we have found really helpful about the roadmap process is that it helps, of course, articulate what building transparency systems actually requires. Sometimes I think there's been a gap between sometimes I think there's been a gap between what countries need and what support is available.
Sorry, Sarah, please for the other attendees to mute yourself, to mute your microphone. And could you please, Sarah, share your camera? Open it.
Unfortunately, I was trying from earlier to open it, but I'm facing some technical issues.
It's okay. Okay.
I'll try at the end maybe to. Yes. So as I was saying, there's been sometimes I think there's been a gap between what countries need and what support is available. Of course, not because of ill intent, but because the full scope wasn't always clear to many of us institutionally. So I believe that a well-developed roadmap can help bridge that gap by showing different components needed, not just technical tools, but also institutional arrangements, human resources, and ongoing operations, helping prioritize where support would be most impactful, creating a basis, of course, for dialogue with support providers and about realistic timelines and resource requirements. It's also useful internally, helping us make the case to our own leadership and finance providers about why sustained investment in transparency matters. From our experience, a few things seem important for building transparency capacity that lasts. For example, institutional foundations, of course, having a clear mandate to coordinate across entities, building relationships with data providers based on mutual value and just reporting obligations, creating processes that serve multiple purposes, domestic planning, as well as international reporting. And of course, with regards to technical capacity, I believe it's important to have systems that reduce manual burden over time through automation, documentation so knowledge doesn't depend on specific individuals. Of course, this should help support providers, leadership, whoever is supporting, see how transparency serves national objectives as well. This should create the case to basically show the connection between transparency roadmaps and finance strategies. I think there's actually a fairly straightforward value here. Of course, better transparency systems can help countries access more financial support. It's really that simple in terms of planning. So when we can demonstrate clearly what we're doing and what impact it's having through our institutional arrangements and track progress reliably, that builds confidence with investors, with donors and finance providers or support providers. They want to see that their support is going to achieve eventually good results. So investing in transparency isn't just about meeting, of course, reporting obligations. It can actually help unlock so many different opportunities. So that's it from my end. I believe
You're muted, we can't hear you.
Sorry, thank you very much, Sarah, for your contribution. Now I would like to hand it over to Idris. Please, how do you see a transparency roadmap, or whatever roadmap we can call it, strategy or a plan? It depends on countries, linking with existing national processes, such as, like, for example, your NDC implementation plans, your national adaptation plans, or national finance strategies and investment plans as well. And should it be a standalone transparency tool, or embedded within existing planning frameworks? And could it also help align transparency needs with national strategies or budgeting and investment planning? And we can say also how important is that transparency planning speaks, we can say, the same language as finance and also sectoral planning. Over to you, Idris, and thank you very much for joining. Sheila, I think Idris has gone. Idris is not here. Okay. So maybe, Sheila, could you please reach out to Idris?
Maybe he was here. I think it could be a network problem, but he was here.
Yeah,
Let me reach out.
Yeah, he was here. So maybe we can continue with Sarah. How would you like to, how do you think about linking transparency system or roadmap with the domestic and other climate processes?
Yeah, happy to speak on that as well. Of course, from our experience, I think there is real potential value in integrating, of course, transparency with, for instance, NDC implementation and other climate planning. After all, we need many of the same things. We need good data, we need tracking systems, coordinating across entities within the country, and ways, of course, to demonstrate our progress. But also, I think the question is how to achieve integration that generally reduces, of course, burden rather than adding another layer of coordination requirements. And I think this is where we could benefit from, of course, hearing from different countries. We're learning in this process as well together. But one approach I believe that seems promising is to build transparency systems again, to reiterate what I was saying earlier, that of course serve countries' own decision-making needs first, with international reporting as a useful, of course, part. For example, if we're tracking NDC implementation for our own country or accountability or planning purposes, much of what we need for BTR reporting is already there. As I was just saying, if climate support tracking serves our budget processes, reporting on support becomes more straightforward. If sectoral data systems, for instance, serve economic planning, the GHG inventory, for instance, can draw on existing data flows. So, and so on and so forth. So this way, transparency isn't an add-on burden, but part of how we manage, of course, our climate efforts anyway. Of course, this requires an investment in designing systems thoughtfully. And of course, we'll always benefit from countries' experiences on this. It depends on different different needs, different challenges, and mapping that out for you to have clarity and visibility on how to address that in the proper way.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sarah, for your insights. And it could be a good idea now to hand it over to the audience. How do you see this transparency roadmap can be aligned to your current efforts in your national context, and how it could be also linked to your domestic processes? And let me also ask about coordination processes. Do we also have the relevant legal framework and institutional frameworks that will allow us to have this sustainable system for transparency that will help us also to maintain the improvement over time with the BTR cycles and for subsequent cycles? Are we ready for that? Is there any countries who can also share their experiences in all of that? Because when we talk about roadmap, for me, it's not just it's not just one step. It's really a lot of work to do. It's a kind of strategy that needs a convenient environment, a good legal framework that engage people, a good institutional arrangement that engage also people from the national context, and also a good platform, technical platform, we should say. Like, do we have the required capacities, technical capacities, human capacities to reach out that? Or do we need subsequent and other supports? And what kind of supports? We're not talking only about finance, but we are talking also about technical support, about experience sharing, about so many other things. So I would like to open the floor for that, for other participants to speak. Or maybe I can ask Miss Hana Hamdallah from Sudan. Miss Hana, are you still there? As it was mentioned previously, this is the kind of open discussion, so we would like to hear from countries how they think about this, because we are just in the starting points. Requirements are more and more, we can say, difficult. So under the Bureau, it's not so many things changes under the BTR now with the Article 13 and the MPGs. So we just need to make sure that we are ready for any other requirements for the future and make sure that we are improving ourselves over time. And based on the first BTR, is the second one will be the same, with the same issues, with the same barriers, with the same data gaps, or we are going forward to update ourselves and to improve our capacities. Maybe in the chat. We have Hannah. She's saying, yes, Andrew, it's useful concept for the country to strategies on the preparation of BTR, and on each step they can identify the challenges and the technical and financial supports required. And this is the rule of GEF and its agencies as requested by parties in COP30, and as well as the other programs can provide supports. That's a very good idea and insights from your side, Hannah. Yes, of course, all the financial mechanism should be involved, and I think they are already involved. We have one raised hand. Kitsiwi, over to you.
Thanks, Keltum, for that. If I may, just ask a question, I think, to the panelists, and also I think the colleagues that are on the webinar, I think feel free to share your experiences on this. I think Andrew mentioned one fundamental thing that is very important and also has been a key point for during the negotiations on how this transparency reporting needs to move or transition to a government-owned process. And I'm listening and trying to understand how colleagues think that this roadmap is going to achieve this. And on the other side, I think we can also answer this question in a way that to understand what are the challenges that countries are facing in terms of ensuring that transparency gets to the hands of the government, is if the government drives transparency on this process of reporting. As Sarah mentioned, that submitting to the convention is a secondary, I think, benefit that we are able to submit and showcase what is happening. But what is fundamentally important is how transparency is owned at a national level and how this useful outputs from transparency is used to inform policy at national level. Let's be realistic in terms of understanding what are the challenges, because once we know the challenges, it will be easy also to inform if we say we need transparency roadmap to know how this transparency roadmap can be designed to actually overcome some of these challenges. So this is my open question to the panelists and also, of course, participants that are in the webinar. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Kitsiwi. So we may have some other participants. Yes, Miss Hannah, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for this webinar. It's very important for elaboration and discussion on the issue of BTR. From my perspective, I think the country, the experience This is not a new practice. We are not, the countries cannot start from the scratch. We have many experience in terms of the preparation of the national communication, in terms of the preparation of the national adaptation plan, and other assessment and reporting. But still, the challenges remain. Even for the NAP, for the national communication, still the developing country face many challenges. In spite the accumulated experiences that the country had, the BTR with the different requirements in the MBEs, that is also put the countries in another challenges like the NDC's tracking and many other issues. From my perspective, I think the issue of the roadmap, it is useful, and it is allow the country to organize themselves inside in terms of institutional framework, institutional capacity, and as well as identified the priorities and from where they can start, and identified even their challenges in each type of step during the preparation of the BTR. And we know that there are many challenges that may face the developing countries. And all these challenges really need provision of technical support and provision of financial support from the GEF agencies. And now from our side as the parties, we need to take the advantages of the COP30 outcome, that there are many decisions taken towards the enhance the provision of support for the developing countries for the preparation of the BTR. And we hope that the countries move as quick as possible to take these advantages of the decision and start to access to the windows of different source of finance. I think the other things that I want to add to the GSP program for the next phase, also to start enhance the capacity of the countries by identified specific challenges, technical challenges particularly, that the country face to address it. I will stop here and thank you.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Thank you very much for your insights and for your contribution. Now I hand this over to Kaka. Kaka, please, over.
Thank you. If I may just quickly respond to the question that was raised by Etsibe. So it was really a crucial point, and sometimes it's not easy to have the national process, but actually there is a two big dimension what we observe in the international process here. When we are talking about to have the ETF, a nationalized process, we have the countries who still receive the international support to fulfill their reports. And we have the other countries who have the fully nationally equipped process. So the experts are there who can do the work. With regards to the analysis of the BTRs, we see that there is some questions with regards to the institutional setup. So if there is enough room to do this process fully nationally? So do we have the legislation the national legislation that really supports the process that can be maintained by the country their own? So that's both aspects I would think would require some time to be addressed. So the countries who have already the capacity to do this their own, we need there to have this national system built, supported by the national legislation or the procedures. Just beyond this, I also say one of the nice example that I experienced when we worked on the BTR one within the Georgia. So NDC tracking was a little bit new topic for everybody, and the system, the tool that we built within the country, we are support of Jeff Fund and UNEP, that was an online data management system, allowed us to very easily presented this topic to the decision makers and to have a green light inside the country to engage many players to fulfill what is really happening with regards to the NDC achievement inside the country. So what I would like to conclude with my answer, there is no single solution. So sometimes there is possibilities and some tools will help you to bring these topics to the decision makers in a way that reduce the risks that you see in a process. So the analysis of this key demands from the key stakeholders is really important on this process to fully nationalize the process. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you very much, Kaka, for that. It's really insightful. And now I see that we have Andrew and we have Ayan. Please, Andrew, the floor is yours.
Thanks very much. I just have 1 or 2 points to add based on the excellent inputs from the last few speakers. Just in our experience of moving from BTR1 to BTR2, I think most countries are very heavily focused on meeting the requirements of their MPGs for the first BTR, and that was the main driving force for most countries. I think what is the case now is that, I mean, especially picking up on some of the comments that Sarah made about their national systems and how they're evolving, is that I think what countries are starting to do now, which is very useful, is to start to think about how they want to use the BTRs to further specific national interests and goals in relation to climate change. And that's like a sort of another layer of consideration that's not really part of the legal framework, but it is very important given the resources that are allocated to reporting in some of these discussions that we can really get a lot of national benefit out of reporting specific activities, etc., etc. The other thing which is evolving is that we have, for instance, on the global goal and adaptation, we now have a set of indicators which are also being revised. But if we want to make use of that process and report progress against those indicators and collect that internationally and feed it into the global stocktake, then we need to find some way of gathering that information on a national level. And many countries, I think, still have huge challenges in collecting information on adaptation, but even more so on loss and damage. And there's this process for developing voluntary guidance in the WIM at the moment on loss and damage. And there's a whole range of other issues like that. Then there are some modalities that are extremely useful that have been tried for the first BTR process. So one of them is regional peer learning workshops, which I think are incredibly useful. And there's been a few of these in different parts of Africa and elsewhere, where practitioners basically get together for several days and they do a deep dive into how they're dealing with specific challenges. And I think there's huge amounts of learnings that can come out of that. Then, I mean, there are other creative things to think about. Like, for instance, one of the things we've been trying to talk to the GEF about is linking the process of applying for support under CBIT to the 2-year reporting cycle. So in other words, when you apply for your support for reporting, for the actual reporting process, you would also integrate that fully with the improvement plan that you have in your BTR, and then also, and this is where this roadmap concept I think is very valuable. You would then basically situate that within that longer term development process. And so instead of having 2 different tracks for capacity building support and reporting support, you'd integrate them in a very much more elegant way, and that could also streamline a number of other processes. There is a widespread consensus across everyone who's spoken about this, that the goal and the gold standard we want is where we build national systems that are sustainable, and that have as many synergies with other national goals and other national policy processes as possible. And one of the unique things about this process is that it's probably the best resourced international process for reporting. It provides, first of all, support to set up the systems themselves, and the systems are useful for a range of different national policy objectives, not only for reporting, but it also provides a whole range of, technical standards, technical guidelines, which are sort of a ready-made set of resources that countries can draw from. And then finally, the review process is incredibly important. I think it's probably one of the most important capacity building processes for developing country practitioners to be reviewers and to review other people's reports. And that's, I think, one of the key ways in which that capacity has been built. The problem is getting people into the system, and I think that's also something that could be looked at. And there are mandates for both the CGE and various other service providers to look at ways of getting more reviewers into the system, especially from developing countries and particularly LDCs and SIDS, and that would also, I think, make a huge difference. The tracking all of these things, the adaptation and loss and damage reporting, etc., when we revise the guidelines, I think will also be very important. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Actually, you just got one of the questions that I was preparing for the audience. So thank you very much for answering that. But I think we still need to have some other answers and insights from participants on how do you think or do you see the feedback from the technical expert review feeding into the future planning? And could this roadmap be useful way to translate that review findings into correct improvement action for the next reporting cycle? And Andrew answered that very well, so thank you very much. I would like to maybe ask participants if their countries conducted already a technical expert review. Do we have any country who conducted that?
Keltum, we have one hand up still. Ayan.
Yes, Ayan. Please, over to you, Ayan.
Thank you so much, Keltum, and I hope you hear me well.
Yes, that's very well. Ayan from Somalia.
Yes, yeah. Thank you so much, Keltum, and really nice to see you again. And thank you so much for planning this very informative discussion. I just wanted to give a bit of update on Somalia's experience on transparency and kind of the number of activities we are now doing. Let me say this: Somalia has a unique experience when it comes to the climate issues and challenges that we have in adapting to the climate change. However, Somalia becomes a lead country when it comes to preparing the right documents, submitting our NDCs, our NAP. As you know, maybe we submitted our NDC 3 on just last year, June, and then submitted NAP on COP on November. So that actually puts us into the right timing on our roadmap or developing our plan for transparency to ensure that we implement our NDCs and NAP. We have taken quite a number of activities and built a collaboration with ICAD to support technically and financially on the MRV establishments. We are also working closely with Santiago Network on the loss and damage related funds, and transparency is always the heart of every proposal that we're doing. And we're also currently writing the FRLD proposal, which we want to build our systems on the loss and damage data information, and at the same time, the transparency. So technically, I support that transparent action because I do the climate finance and program development, and I ensure that we always have a line on transparent in all our activities and the work we are doing. Maybe I'm just going to add also that we are working closely with UNDP on the CBIT through Jeff, and at the same time writing the BTR and the third national communication. So I believe we are on the right track, but at the same time, as a very vulnerable country to climate change, we do really require and support a lot of technical support, financial support, and kind of a lot of guidance from the regional teams, from UNFCCC. I'm sure we can have more discussions on this, Khartoum, and thank you so much for looping us in these discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayan. It's a really pleasure to see you. Just to mention, we have a meeting with Ayan in 30 minutes, so we shall discuss this more. Thank you very much for now. And congratulations, Ayan, for Somalia on the submission of numerous documents, NDC 3.0, the NAP, and other things. And congratulations also on starting working on your CBIT at the national level. I can't see any hands raised. So for now, I would like to hand this over to Snejana. Snejana, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Khartoum, and thanks to all panelists. So it was very interesting to hear your observations, your experiences, your suggestions. And we have actually smoothly moved from panel discussions to a session for questions and answers. So what to say? One of the panelists mentioned that actually panelists from negotiators group said that they really need information on challenges, countries' experiences in their national context related to ETF reporting, transparency systems, roadmaps, paths. So we had here interesting exchange among countries. I'm sorry that Mr. Idris could not join. He had some urgent matters, urgent calls, but still we had some very insightful informations from your side. For instance, Somalia at the end shared experience focusing on their national context, which is actually what we want to hear here. And about their support received, not just technical, but also financial, etc., etc. And thank you very much for sharing all these insights. Just towards to the end of today's session and meeting discussion, I would like to share one short Menti quiz with you. So hopefully I will find it here. Can you see the slides I will present now? I hope that you all see the first slide. So we will move to the instructions. So you can scan this QR code to get to the Menti, or just go to, in your browser, type menti.com, and then enter the code of the meeting, which is 17907736. So I will keep a few seconds this instruction slide just to enable you to join to this questionnaire. So menti.com, code 17907736. So we have 11 people there already. Okay. I'll keep it a bit more. Okay. I hope, number is increasing. Thank you for that. Since this is right, this is questionnaire, right, about the topics that we discussed today. So your reflections, your thoughts, your opinions are very important to all of us in transparency story or transparency system. So, okay, let's move to the next slide, to the first question, which is, what first comes to your mind when you hear the term transparency roadmap? So I hear here lots of answers. Strategy for reporting, BTR cycle reporting, accountability, busy. Okay, yes. Digital MRV system, legal framework, very important first step, I would like say, along with institutional arrangements. Strategy for reporting, solutions, clarity and execution. Exciting. Oh, glad that you are exciting about the transparency roadmaps. Yes, it can be exciting to move from reporting on biannual, just ad hoc reporting on BTRs on biannual basis, to the real transparency system, which is sustainable and functional. Accountability. Excellent. Thank you. Let's move to the next question. Do you believe transparency roadmaps or transparency systems paths can improve predictability and coordination of the BTR? So three of you think yes, definitely. 4, let's see, half and half. So the offered answers are yes, definitely yes, but only with strong support. Yeah, importance of the support is really high in transparency. So out of this, we can just say that transparency roadmaps can improve predictability and coordination of the BTRs and entire national transparency systems, definitely, but also some of you or most of you think that for that countries need really strong support. Thank you. Let's move to the next slide. What solutions would you suggest to improve coordination of transparency reporting? So let's see some ideas. Early planning. Okay, yeah, that's always important. Timely planning, I would say, maybe also. Sharing of experiences and detailed support provision. Support and technical know-how, of course. Legal frameworks and capacity building. Development of memorandum of understanding. Important I would say one of initial steps in setup of your institutions to enable them to coordinate, to facilitate all what is necessary in order to collect data, coordinate, to exchange information, to prepare information, to make entire ETF system very much functional. Governance and institutional arrangement at the national level, meeting ETF requirement, of course, strong feedback loop, and I don't know what is participatory, maybe this is not finished sentence, capacity building always needed. Yes, we need to raise really our national capacities and knowledge in order to fulfill all these obligations, reporting and others within the ETF framework. Someone says this is $1 million question called CBIT. Yes, national CBIT initiatives really are great opportunity for countries to enhance their capacities, technical and all others, in order to enhance their and set up their transparency systems and paths on sustainable and effective way. Then also again enhanced institutional arrangements. I would say that everything starts with the legal framework and the institutional arrangements, and then also capacity building, technical capacities, etc. I maybe would say that that's the really crucial initial step in all processes, including our climate agenda and transparency. So thank you very much for these answers. Let's move to the next slide and next question, which is what kind of support would be the most valuable for your country in developing transparency roadmaps? Of course, financial, most of you agree with that, and also technical, which is really important to raise technical capacities and knowledge in order to being able to put all these parts into the one functional systems, of course. Okay, that is why our one of our next sessions within this webinar series will also focus on the financial side of the support for the transparency. So I believe that you will have a chance to join us and to discuss some possibilities and some experiences in recently received support, financial support, and other kinds of the support for enhancing transparency frameworks. The next question is, what elements should be prioritized in a transparency roadmap to strengthen national reporting systems? But before Keltoum, do you want to say something? You raised your hand.
No, just I wanted to remind the participants and countries that the second panel discussion or the second session in this webinar series will be on how to mobilize the resources for the transparency systems and to open the discussion about that. So it's very good to have this as requirements here in the answers provided by participants today.
Thank you for that. Of course, this is a webinar series, and for next two we also have interesting topics. I will talk about that a bit more at the end of the meeting. So just to focus now on the answers of the elements that should be prioritized in a transparency roadmap in context of the strengthening of the national reporting systems. So in your opinion, that's the capacity development of MRV transparency platform, capacity building and recurrent training of technical experts, of course, institutional arrangements and capacity building and data. Yes, we already mentioned institutional arrangements, but also the very often countries face challenges with data flows, with data collection, etc. Also, you mentioned here national circumstances, data collection methods, of course, innovative systems in terms of the artificial intelligence in use of the reporting systems. Yes. Tracking the finance supports, capacity building, strong coordination among related institutions, financial mobilizations, collecting data again, yes. Common challenge, transparency roadmap. Someone says that transparency roadmap should prioritize establishing a clear institutional roles and legal mandates, a robust national MRV data management systems, standardized methodologies aligned with the IPCC guidelines. Thank you. Let's move to the next question. Who should lead the development of the National Transparency Roadmap? So let's see what potential roles within the countries we can have in this context. So half and half, Ministry of Environment and Interministerial Coordination Body. Also, some of you think that that could be like an independent technical agency, and one is not sure. Okay. Ministry of Environment now it leads this, of course, which is logical. In most of the countries, the Ministry of Environment is one who is leading all climate processes, national climate processes. So it's kind of the logical that in most of the countries also transparency will be rooted and organized within the Ministry of the Environment. Next question is, what are the most urgent needs for effective transparency reporting? So most of the respondents think it's clear institutional arrangements, then also technical capacity building. Of course, we and together with you at national level work a lot on raising technical capacities of national expert team members, etc. Also, one very important thing we mentioned several times during this event is sustainable funding, strong coordination mechanisms. These are some of the answers. In one word, what is the biggest barrier to effective BTR reporting in your context? So capacity building, support, time, data, coordination, sluggish coordination, national data collection, capacity building, national sector experts, and data information collection platform. Yes, that's the one very important precondition for effective data collection and management, data and coordination again. So I believe that it's now more clear what are the key preconditions. And finally, one of our very final questions about the country. So I see we have participants from Georgia, Iraq, Kenya, Seychelles, South Africa, Morocco, Oman, Sierra Leone, Sudan, Tunisia. I believe that I did not miss anyone. Thank you very much, really, for joining us and for being active. So the last question in this Menti is about your satisfaction. So thank you very much. This is the last slide of with the questions. Thank you very much for sharing your opinions, thoughts, and for participating. So for the end, as we come to the end of today's session, I want really sincerely to thank all of you for active participation and really thoughtful and interesting contributions. And at the end, just if you have any comments for the end. Maybe Katsive or Yali, colleagues? I don't see any hands raised.
Lajana, we can maybe just Kitsiwi here mentioned some conclusions.
Go on.
One important point raised especially by Andrew is that transparency is currently the most well-funded and capacity-rich part of the reporting process. Through CBIT, countries receive support for technical and institutional capacity, including investment in data systems, legal and policy framework, and the resources provided through enabling activities, combined with the technical expert review process, in which in itself brings a substantial capacity building benefits. These elements represent a powerful package. The real opportunity now is for governments to take ownership of these investments, not treating them as isolated reporting requirements, but integrating them into national systems that are generally transformational. When countries embed these capacities into their institutional I lost it. It becomes a driver for better data, stronger coordination, and ultimately more informed and effective policy making. How can governments move from simply receiving this support to truly owning it? What would it look like in the system built for transparency, become the backbone of evidence-based policy making, not because donors fund it, but because governments saw it is indispensable to their development vision. And she also mentioned this is just food for thought, colleagues. Hope the roadmaps help us answer these and other fundamental questions. Over to you, Slajana.
Thank you, Keltum. Thank you, Katsive, for this very interesting closing thoughts and summarizing our today's discussions. So we also here touched some important things, explored what roadmaps should include, who should lead at national level, and how they can help us move from negotiation practice. And also we heard some challenges on path that countries experiences now. So these all insights shared today remind us that transparency is not just a reporting requirement, but actually it's a foundation for trust, coordination, and at the end, importantly, for effective climate action. So at the end, I just would like to especially thank you, especially our speakers and the panelists, Katsive and Yali, also our dear colleagues, negotiators and country practitioners for sharing your experiences, expertise, thoughts, ideas, and of course, thank you, my dear colleagues, network coordinators, Keltum and Sheila, for guiding the panel sessions. So your all engagements through questions and also Menti survey really added value to this conversation, which we will, of course, continue by CBIT-GSP platform. And these current inputs will help shape future discussions under the Article 13th and strengthen more our collective approach to the transparency. So we really look forward to continue this journey together, and in the upcoming sessions, of the Post-COP30 Transparency Outlook series. And as Keltum mentioned, our next session, called From Financing Reports to Financing Systems, is planned for early May. And it will be followed by session on the where we will learn more about the lessons to inform the review of the MPGs which will be organized in mid-September. Until then, I would like to thank you once again for all energy and for commitment, for being active and innovative also. I'm wishing you all wonderful day ahead. See you again. Goodbye.
Thank you very much for joining. See you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye. Goodbye to all of you.
Bye-bye.